A good Sunday afternoon to you, Roger Hill of Wuthering Heights, VELCO Weather Hazards Forecaster. Looking at this outlook period, the big picture, no real issues to worry about this outlook period. In fact, no impacts indicated through the period, and that would be ending, of course, on Friday night, early morning hours on Saturday. It looks like we might actually see a nice warming trend during the later part of this outlook period going in beyond the period, which we could have some extended dry weather over next weekend, and with that will come temperatures above normal. In the meantime, we'll see a pretty good dip in temperature, however, and right now kind of a blocky weather pattern with a block across the northern part of Canada, western parts of Canada, and then that has been turning the flow with this deep trough. This trough is going to eventually exit out of the region. It's going to be a fairly slow process, but not before colder air is going to be filtering into the region, and that's going to produce a pretty good dip in temperature as we get into the period generally Tuesday, Wednesday, into Thursday for the coldest weather, and probably some frosty nights ahead and some chilly days. And then beyond that, temperatures begin to moderate and even moderate to levels that'll go above normal just a little bit beyond the period. So something to look forward to around the corner. I don't see any indications of snow here locally to our neck of the woods, other than the fact that maybe the northern Green Mountains might see a few wet snowflakes along about Thursday or so. And other than that, we're looking at generally piecemeal kind of weather with the best project weather occurring the rest of today, Sunday. The next chances for that will be along about Wednesday, and also some good solar as well, generation potential. And Friday, it looks like the end of the work week, the last day of this period. And on the left-hand side, we have the European deterministic. On the right-hand side, we have the GFS deterministic, not the ensemble. We'll compare notes. We have a ridge of higher pressure right now that's controlling our weather. It's relatively weak. We do have a lot of cold air with this upper-level flow that's pushing into the region right now, and this colder air is going to try to make inroads, but never really get here with enough precipitation. It's going to be in the form of rain, so maybe a couple wet snowflakes on some of the mountaintops Monday night. But for the most part, we're not looking at any snow, just rain showers with that batch of rain working in with the predominant batch, the bulk of which will fall, it looks like on Monday night into Tuesday morning. And then Tuesday, just a few leftover showers potentially in eastern sections. And then you can see this area of low pressure kind of swirling away. And then we dry slot and open up some better weather conditions for a dry Wednesday. And then beyond that, looks like a dry Friday after a little bit of rain shower potential. So checking that, there's Wednesday, and then once we get into Friday, you can see just a little bit of wet snowflake action potentially, probably mixed with rain on the valley floors up in the northern tier regions of the state. That would be about Thursday afternoon. Once we get beyond that, it looks like on Friday, we'll actually eke out pretty decent conditions, and temperatures will start to have a rebound. And it does look like the whole weather pattern is going to begin to change with no trough in the east. Instead, there's going to be a trough developing in the west. That's going to pump up a ridge of higher pressure. But before that, we go kind of zonal. And this is the zonal weather. And typically that warms us up. We do have this kind of sort of elongated Bermuda high pressure system. So all in all said, once we get into this weekend beyond the period, we're looking at some pretty good weather here across our neck of the woods, the Canadian Maritimes. It looks like a nice ridge with extended weather going into Sunday, and maybe even beyond that into Monday and even into Tuesday of next week. So we might put a string of good days ahead, and that'll also come with warmer than normal temperatures. How about that? Looking at the GFS ensemble centered on Montpelier, we can see the main precipitation is going to be right here, and this is basically going to develop, it looks like during Monday night is the bulk of which. The secondary impulse I'm not sure about, but it probably lingers into Tuesday morning and then moves on out. And then we see basically drier weather before the next weather system pushes in, probably along about Thursday. And there is the slight potential we might see just a little bit of wet snow. Looking at the total amount of precipitation, not really a whole lot in the way of QPF here. 3/10 and deterministic model, the blue here, the GFS showing around 0.45 of an inch or so, not a big deal. During this outlook period, the temperatures do cool off aloft. This is 850 millibars, about the top of Mount Mansfield, and you can see that it goes below the 0 degree isotherm, and that means Temperatures, the airloft would support snow rather than rain. Probably rain on the valley floors, but needless to say, there's not going to be a lot of them way of precip. So looking at the precipitation type here, you can kind of see just a little bit of snow, and that kind of indicated right there. This is 850 millibar gradient winds, about the top of Mount Mansfield, and note that there's no real winds to worry about here in terms of gradient winds, all good there. This is the total QPF, or quantitative precipitation forecast, for the next 7 days accumulated. Great Lakes are going to be in the main action here, as this upper low is going to be spinning overhead, providing a lot of cold air. And they're going to see some lake effect snows, definitely in the vicinity of the Great Lakes, especially the western and central lakes, less so in the eastern parts of the Great Lakes. For us, we're looking at around 0.25 of an inch indicated. So again, a very dry weather pattern. Most of the rain and the weather pattern supporting a lot of heavier storm action is really off the coast and out to sea into the Canadian Maritimes. Big, broad area of the country, not seeing a whole lot in the way of precip this period. And we have some anomalous cool temperatures kind of working in around this upper level system, and of course colder in the Great Lakes. We're right on the edge of this warm up here. Checking that these are the high temperatures as weighted for the next 5 days, the meteorological output statistics, and we're kind of neutral, a little colder to the west, but you can see the main dive down of the coldest air is going to be getting into places even like Florida, where they're going to be below normal and running about 9 degrees below normal in the Ohio Valley, some parts of the Great Lakes, and so on. So this is the next 5 days of high temperatures. 3 days later, it looks like this. We start to make some inroads here, lose some of the colder air still in the south. It heads kind of into the Gulf of Mexico. We see a pretty good warm-up taking place in the Pacific Northwest, the Rockies, the Great Plains, the interior Great Basin, and also temperatures begin to warm up a little bit, or kind of continue to stay warm in the Canadian Maritimes. We're right on that neutral line. No tropic activity to worry about as it looks right now. It looks like this period we're winding down on the tropics, so this is the only tropical system to really keep an eye on, and kind of heads north and falls apart. Another one potentially southeast of Bermuda will head toward Bermuda and probably curve out to sea, but this is fairly low potential. And that is the end of 10 days out. Temperatures are climbing nicely. We're looking at a pretty fine rest of the day. Enjoy today, Sunday. That's it from here, Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights. Thanks for watching.